call the regular meeting to order on May 26th at, my clock just disappeared on my screen, at 7:03. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Did you hear that or no?
Yep, that was perfect.
You heard it. Okay, I did not. So I'm glad everybody heard that.
That's perfect. And once again, I'm going to bring this point up. I still would like to do little certificates or something to these kids for them saying the Pledge of Allegiance to us. I think it's important that they know that they're impacting our meetings.
Yes. Well, now that we're coming out of COVID, we can probably have some of that again. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, the approval of agenda. I don't believe that we have anything tonight. We have everything situated. And so we will move to the approval of minutes. Let's take each one well, I guess they're all just special meetings. We'll just do them all together. And if there's any discussion or anything that needs to be changed, we can do that during the discussion part.
Madam Chair, can you see the agenda here? I just want to make sure everybody's seeing it. Okay.
Yes, we are good with that right now.
Okay.
So I will entertain a motion for the approval of all minutes.
Madeira and Dugentala, motion to approve all minutes.
Jacob Murray, second.
Okay, any discussion? Anyone at this time have anything to change?
I got a question. Ashley, on the May 12th, or not the May 12th, May 17th minutes, I was a little confused about the wording for the vote. It doesn't really say what the motion was. I didn't know if that should be corrected or edited. It just says that Madhu seconded it, and then there's a vote.
I'll scroll up a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say we need to.
Was that for the sermon?
That was for the interview for the AP position.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We had so many special ones. I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
We'll go scroll a little bit up a little bit because I don't have this printed out on my end.
I'm trying to.
Okay, here we go.
That's the. This is
Karma.
a different one, so I'm trying to get down to it.
May 17th.
That was it.
Yeah, it's implied.
Yeah.
Wasn't the reason we didn't put it in there was because it wasn't public knowledge yet?
Right, and so what's probably missing is the motion to empower or to
Offer the contract.
Yeah, the superintendent to offer the contract. There's some language missing here. I'll go back and figure out what happened to it. If you want to do that, you can approve the other minutes, and I'll go back and figure out what happened to this one.
So that one will have.
It just has to have that motion added. I think that's what's missing here is the motion.
I just assumed that was purposely left out.
Yeah, I'll look at that.
Okay, because that's Dr. Willett will correct that. So the other minutes then are fine as is. Are there any other discussion on those? Okay, so let's do the roll call vote for approving the minutes as is, and also having the updated minutes for the May 17th to reflect the motion that we had for the wording for the AP principal. So
Do we need to rescind the motion?
Yeah, I'll rescind. Madeira and Dugentala, I rescind the motion.
Okay. Still need a second.
Jacob Murray.
Forward second.
Okay. Then we'll still have to do the roll call. So we'll have to do Madhu.
Aye.
Rini.
Aye.
Griffin.
Aye.
Plord.
Aye.
Jacob.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
Sophia.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm aye as well. Therefore, the motion is rescinded, and then we can do a new one.
Christina Plord, I'd like to make a motion to approve all minutes of, sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, with the edit to the May 17th special meeting to include the actual motion we voted on.
Okay,
Does that make sense? Is that good?
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, the other way you could do it is just motion to approve them of the 28th, 6th, and 12th, leave the 17th ones off, and we will, review them and then put them on next time. Like you just ignore, you don't accept them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
You know
would
what I
be
mean?
better.
So Christina Plord, I'd like to make a motion to approve the April 28th, May 6th, and May 12th regular meeting minutes.
Nadir Gentile, second.
Okay, any other discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. So Madhu,
Aye.
Rini,
Aye.
Griffin,
Aye.
Plord,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Sophia.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, the approval of minutes for the April 28th, May 6th, and May 12th are as is. Okay, at this time, we would like to invite the public participation. This is for anything on the agenda or just anything that you would like to say. If you could please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 2 minutes, which Tony the timer is now back. It's been a long time since I said Tony the timer, and he will give you the 30 seconds, verbal and visual, to let you know. Once again, if you would like to at this time, public participation, can raise your hand and I will call on you. I'm not seeing anyone. Therefore, we will move to correspondence. And that will go to Tony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since the last regular meeting, we received an email from a student articulating the 6 disadvantages to going back to full-time schedule. Author feels that the decision was last minute. An email from the parent of a soon-to-be kindergartner discussing concerns with children wearing masks outside during recess. Email from a high school senior requesting that students be allowed an increased number of graduation tickets. Email from concerned parent on the dangers of children wearing masks outside during the hot temperatures. And an email concerning the SROs and school safety. Thank you, ma'am.
At this point, if any members would like to address any of these things for points of information, you may do so by raising your hand. And Dr. Willett, I don't know if you want to make any statements for the masks. I know that was a couple of emails, or the graduation tickets, because I also saw that that was out and about there in the internet world. So I wasn't sure.
Yes, of course. So, so the 2 things. One, recently the DPH changed its guidance, and now students no longer have to mask while playing outside. They mask only if they're congregating. So the best analogy I can think of is a board game. If they're, for whatever reason, playing something or some kind of board game where they're congregating close together outside, they'd still have to wear the mask. But if they're just running around playing on the playground, students do not have to wear masks anymore for that. And for graduation, we were talking to DPH, talking to individuals at the state, and we are allowed to offer 12 tickets. So every family will have up to 12 tickets for graduation. And I know that the principal's been talking about that a lot. Mr. Tolland has been putting it out there. So he's a great resource for any questions as well. But people should be able to do that. It's organized in rows. So families should be able to bring just about anybody they want. So it's a great thing.
Perfect, thank you. Any other board members at this time would have anything that they would like to say? You can raise your hand. If not, we will go to our student representatives. Okay, ladies. We got one, there's the other one. Perfect. So Summer and Alexandra.
Okay, so the National Honor Society, NHS, recently held a successful in-person induction ceremony in the Tolland High School gym, and we inducted new members into this club. And the 8th graders will have a graduation ceremony during the school day for their class on June 17th. And we would like to say congrats to girls lacrosse team who recently won the CCC championship.
And then Mr. Tolland recently had a meeting with all of their seniors, I think it was Tuesday morning, discussing our end of year activities. It was a really good opportunity for everyone to get a sense of what the end of the year will look like. As a reminder, the senior prom at THS is on the night of June 4th. And then the class day for seniors is on June 5th, the next morning. And then lastly, Tolland project graduation will be happening this year, which I think is something all the seniors are really excited about. And that's going to be on June 18th from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. at Star Hill.
Well, I can't believe it's going to be June already. That's coming up next week, guys. Are you going to be ready?
It's coming up to the end of the year.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies, very much. Like I said, I can't believe it's already the end of the year activities and are actually here and coming. And once again, too, I did see something about the lacrosse team, so I want to definitely say congrats on that. That's a great accomplishment. Thank you, ladies. Okay, let's move to the superintendent's report. So, our first one, H1, the announcements of AP at Tolland High School.
So this is very exciting. You have already met her, but our community is going to meet her for the first time tonight, and there'll be other opportunities as well, meet and greets through the high school. But I do want to just take this opportunity to announce the hiring of Kimberly Marinan. She is the new assistant principal for Tolland High School, and that's going to be effective in July. She's a career educator with a leadership experience across the board, and as a director of school counseling and athletic director. She's worked in public schools since 1997 and is a great legacy supporting and helping students grow as a health director and as a longtime teacher working for their physical health and mental health and well-being. She's a longtime Rockville educator, but I've told her she now has to become an Eagle. Whatever they are in Rockville, she can't be one of them anymore. She now has to be one of us. But she's embracing that entirely. So I just wanted to give a big warm welcome to Kimberly Marin, and she's an amazing educator. We're so lucky to have her and just officially introduce her to the community tonight. I'm sorry we can't do it in person so that you can really see and hear and feel all the applause, and it's harder through Zoom to feel that, but everybody visually right now will give you the equivalent of the standing ovation you would have received. So welcome.
Oh, look at Flora. She's got the little emoji for you. Look at that.
Yeah, they've got the graphics, whatever. I wish I had a sound pad, but I should have gotten that.
Thank you
I don't
very
know.
much.
Go ahead. You can unmute if you want to say anything, or don't worry about, I know Dr. Willett's got the mute buttons going on over there, but go ahead.
That's okay. I just wanted to say thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to it. Very excited for this new opportunity, and it was a pleasure meeting everyone. And again, just thank you for this opportunity at this time.
I'm very excited. It's a great opportunity. I think it's really fantastic. Let's see what our board members have to say here, which, now you're seeing them unmasked and in their virtual rooms here. So let's go ahead and go to Flora.
It's a little like the Brady Bunch. Moving on.
I was just going to say, welcome. It's nice to see your smiling face. I could tell you were smiling with your eyes at our in-person interview from behind the mask, but welcome. And from one former Rockville Ram to another who's become an Eagle, welcome.
See, she knows it's the Ram, Dr. Willett. See, we're all here.
I block all that out. I only know the Eagles. Go Eagles.
Thank you, Flora. Let's go to Griffin.
I just wanted to also say congratulations and welcome, and we're all really excited to have you on board, and we just look forward to really meeting you in person, without any masks at some point. So it is nice to see your smiling face, at least on a Zoom for right now, but just welcome. And if you need anything from any of us, you know where we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. Let's go to Sophia.
I also wanted to say congratulations and welcome, and we all really were impressed with you, and we are thankful that you're going to be an asset to our school system.
Let's go to Madhu.
So I, again, wanted to congratulate you. I wish you all the luck in the world. Something that really stuck out to me during the interview process was how anxious you were to get entrenched in the community, and I really appreciated that. So again, thank you. We look forward to having you, and congratulations.
And let's go to Jacob.
Congratulations. I'm really excited to see what you can do for our district, and again, just welcome aboard.
Let's go to Rini.
Well, everyone's kind of said it already, but I just want to say welcome, congratulations, and we're very excited to have you joining the team.
And Tony.
I echo what my fellow board members have said, that the energy and excitement that you brought to that room was nothing short of phenomenal. I am excited to see what you and Mr. Tolland bring as a team to Tolland High School. Thank you.
Any last, there you go. Go ahead. I didn't know if anyone had any last minute. We're all set. Once again, I think our whole team was very impressed with you, and we are very excited to see where we're going to end up. And I think you're going to be a great asset to our community. So thank you very much for saying yes.
Thank you again for everyone. And I look forward to meeting with everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you for coming.
I know, I'm excited that she actually was able to come. This is fantastic. I mean, see, it's going to be fantastic. It's great, very, very good. Okay, now get on to the business part of our meeting here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the H2, the COVID Relief Fund request. Dr. Willett, we can't really hear you. You seem to be like fading in and out. Now it's like very muted. Try talking again.
I am going to try this. Is this
That's much better. Much better.
Okay.
You can't ask for the fries now. You can't ask, would you like
Good
fries
for,
with that?
good thing for redundancy that we have these. So, all right. So at the end of fiscal year 20, the Tolland Board of Education opted to roll $283,508 into the town general fund as the town and the Board of Ed were working on the creation of a education COVID relief fund, specifically for Tolland. So an agreement was proposed in December, and it was established in the new year. Provision 3A1 of this agreement stipulates that before submitting for reimbursement from this fund, rolled from last year's Board of Ed funds, the superintendent shall present the proposed requested funds to the Board of Education. So the financial summary tonight, and I'll show you the spreadsheets, they are attached and they are part of the packet. COVID items are presented in two documents, the BOE COVID request P1 and BOE COVID request P2. Both of these are attached. They are documents to provide information in accordance with 3A1 of that agreement. So if you can take a look at them, and I'll scroll down to them in a minute, together they total $283,352. So the board action desired tonight would be a motion to approve the funds and related fund requests under section 3A1 of the Education COVID Relief Fund Agreement as articulated in the attachments of Board of Ed COVID request P1 and P2, respectively, of this agenda item totaling $283,352.20 and accordingly seek reimbursement. So that is basically the the way and the methodology through which we have to request the funds. Two documents do comprise it: a COVID fund that was set up at the beginning of the pandemic to collect all of the things that we were spending on that would eventually and hopefully be reimbursed from this fund that was generously set up by the board and the town for the purpose. And if I can get to the other tab here, which okay. And the other is strictly the second document shores up the two amounts so that it's 283. And you can see the 91,575. That's basically food and supplies that were part of that, and then ultimately the Board of Ed's COVID request fund. One of the reasons why the food service piece is in here is that the food service piece, and we'll talk more about it as we get into the EOI conversation for the phase document next. But our COVID request is comprised of things that were spent on during the year and attributed to that COVID fund. And then we know that the food service program, which we've talked about before and was covered in FFC, I think in those 2 meetings now, there's a shortfall for this year in our food service program, not unlike other food service programs across the state because of the pandemic. A la carte items took a big hit, so they just weren't pulling in the the revenue they were before, and ultimately ended up needing to have some shortfalls covered. So the Board of Ed picking up the expense of the supplies on these items will allow them to become balanced again by not having to have spent on that, would help rebalance that fund. So these 2 groupings represent the full request together. They're broken apart so you can see explicitly, in this case, what part of it was food in this particular request, and supplies for that program to offset its costs so it doesn't have to spend on that, which will then leave more money in its fund and help it recover. And again, it was an independently funding program for its history here. It's the pandemic that really put it in a tough spot, and it is the same for many, many, many districts across Connecticut. So, the management of the food service program is excellent. It just happens to be that they just weren't able to pull in the revenue during the pandemic. So that's about it. They comprise the full amount of $283,352, and ultimately we would need the board's approval to be able to move forward with the official request.
At this time, if any board members have any questions, I would like to take those. I know that I actually called Griffin to just go through some questions because, or FFC, and so she kind of walked me through a little bit. So like I said, let's open this up, and I see Tony.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I think I was on the same page as you there. I just wanted to ask Ms. Griffin or maybe somebody else from FFC if you had any brief thoughts on this.
Sure. Want me to answer, Ashley?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we did go through it. We were a little nitpicky. We kind of went through quite a few line items, specifically, I know we asked about kind of cleaning and rubbish and maintenance supplies, and so Dr. Willett had provided us with kind of a description of everything that was included in these accounts, just to kind of confirm that everything was related to COVID. So it was, things like PPE, it was extra cleaning services that we hired out for, so that we could go back to the, eventually the 4th day and then the 5th day. So I know that I personally was very comfortable that everything in this list was specifically related to COVID. That would not have would not have happened in the year had it not been for COVID. So again, I am comfortable that everything on this list of the 191 plus the food services is, falls under the description of what the COVID relief fund was, what that we were allowed to use those funds for. So hope that helps, Tony.
Okay. Jacob?
I was just gonna piggyback off of what Ms. Griffin said. We had a lot of questions. Dr. Willett went back and did some of his homework and got us some answers. It looks like all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. Just for anyone who's interested, board or up in the public, a lot of the salary related lines had to do with remote learning educators that we had to hire to help with the remote population, along with mail couriers to deliver supplies out to households. And most of the rest has to do with cleaning and a few extra of electronic equipment that we might have had to buy to facilitate remote learning. But overall, I'm pretty confident about moving this to action tonight.
Thank you, Jacob. I did have a quick question for everyone. maybe Dr. Willie can answer this, because they did say the town council is going to review the COVID, having the establishment of the COVID fund in July, correct?
Right, between, in the months of July, August, and before September, we have to, if we're going to continue it, it would need to be reviewed and then continued.
Okay.
And you'll see in the phase document that we're talking about next that, you know, we may at the end of this year, if we did, one of the places you could put that would be in the COVID fund if it were to remain in place.
In place, okay. Just wanted to make sure that I had the right timeline on that. Any other board members have questions at this time? No? Okay, I will entertain a motion to move this to K1 for board action.
Jacob Murray, I move that we move approval of COVID relief funds to item K1 for action.
Madhu Rendu-Trentala, second.
Any discussion on that? Okay, let's do the roll call vote. Jacob?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
Madhu?
Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
Fleur?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, we will move this to K1 for board action. Okay, let's move on to H3, the reconciliation under the year phase 2 document, which is right here. Dr. Willett?
Yes, so this document is very similar to the one you've seen before. There are 3 versions of this typically. There's the April version, which is our early phase 1. There's May, which is now, end of May. And now the next one you'll see will be June. This was presented to the FFC prior to the meeting. That's why you see the 2 FFC up here. In the meeting, they went through it with me as well. The first part, section 1, is very, very familiar to you. It is the basic breakdown of how the Board of Ed's budget ultimately came to be. And you know the reduction that was necessary, which is $474,000. Section 2, and a 2% budget, which was good. Section 2 talks about the current estimated balance based on the information that's available at the time. So we take the balance that's in there, and then the black items are things that are added. The red items are things that are taken away. You'll notice that the food service piece that you may be endorsing today goes in and then it comes out again because it was spent out of operating and then pushed back in. So using it, and again, it's an estimation because day to day this changes as we get closer and closer to the end of the year, but it gives you a pretty good snapshot. And last year we were pretty accurate as to where we landed. So, you know, as we get closer here and we get into June, the 3rd version or phase 3 of this, the last one that we see prior to the end of the budget year, usually has the most accurate numbers because we're coming in and we have the final, you know, the final rundowns on them. But right now you'll see that we're getting pretty close. And this time last year, we were pretty accurate too. Roughly at about 763,086. And then essentially it describes now in sections 3, 4, and 5, 3 and 4, the breakdown of the expenditures that we would make as end of year expenditures. That is section 3. And then section 4 is the investments. The investments will offset fiscal year's 22 budget. They are how we reach the 474. The section 3 is the expenditures related to things that we would get as an end of year expense. It's an opportunity to acquire things. It can offset budgets as I've described before, but it's not going to offset next year's budget. For instance, the scoreboard can offset, you know, the years to come because we won't be making a capital request for a scoreboard if we're able to do it here, similar for a skylift, et cetera. But they won't take and, you know, help us mitigate the 474 that we have to get to reach to the, you know, to the reduction, the town council's reduction to 2%. So we did talk about this last month. FFC has seen it now a couple times, I believe. So these items, the only thing I'd like to say just for tonight is we really do need, as the board has given, you know, their general nod towards last month's actions with respect to the BGP truck and the BGP, you know, labor to help with packing, things like that. Tonight, really what I'm seeking is the general nod of the board. Doesn't have to be an official vote, but just, you know, a general nod of the board so that I can move forward with these actions. Now is the time, as we are at the end of May, we would need the month to execute this. So these items I would be moving forward on after this meeting. Literally right after this meeting, I would start moving forward on them. So we would be looking to make these expenditures for end of year that would benefit the programs greatly. Lots of curriculum work that we can get done now means we don't have to pull subs and pull people out of classrooms, et cetera, et cetera. It really makes it a much more efficient way of getting things done. Fencing around the playgrounds, yes, badly needed. And we've talked about some of these things before, so I won't belabor them. Graduation, as you know, is at Yard Stadium. That's more than we were used to spending, so there's a second payment in here. And the ruler program, we have a unique opportunity to engage across the entire district, teams in every single school and at the district level with the Yale ruler program. This includes a very large number of our staff that would be leading this effort. And so we have an opportunity to do that right now because we can do it virtually. It's much more expensive if you're in person. So we're able to engage a very large group of people at a relatively small amount of, smaller expenditure than it would have taken otherwise. So it'll put us years ahead in this, whereas we would have had to trickle people through the program over the next few years. We can have a number of people take it now and just hit the ground running, in next year and be able to, as of say December, really get our stuff moving forward because it'll be happening between the summertime and December. We would otherwise not be able to execute it on that scale. So it's very important. And again, we talked a little bit about the math, but the math allows the teachers to do the trainings and the work in the summer versus being pulled out and having substitutes cover while they take it. It means that there'll be less time with teachers for those kids, and they'll be basically trying to fly the plane and build it at the same time. The old analogy, they are going to, if they have to do it the old school way, they'll be really phasing it in much more slowly than if they're able to just get that done in the summer. So we do have these opportunities at the end of the year sometimes, and it really does allow us to move our school district forward in a variety of ways, both curricularly, instructionally, training-wise. This is looking like the Bridges math program will be implemented. It says Bridge, SFIM, because that's Bridges, San Francisco. And I forget what the IM is standing for here at the moment. I'm having a kind of brain freeze, but, and it's leaning and going towards the Bridges. So the point is they would be able to get that full training and it wouldn't interrupt the school's student day. And that's very important. It's the best way to do that. If we are able to do it in a situation like this, we are able to do it.
Hey, Dr. Willett,
yeah.
Dana's in the waiting room.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
No, it's all right.
Thank you.
I figured I'd let you know so you could let her in.
Yeah, sorry, I'm focused on this screen.
You're very focused on the section 3. We didn't get to section 4.
I figured
got
as much.
questions there.
All right, so section 4. Sorry. Now, this is the section that allows us to offset the fiscal year 22. Anything that you see that is on this list would be invested in for fiscal year 22, which would reduce what we needed for fiscal year 22 because these items would be made available through this investment. Therefore, we can reach the reduction number of 474,000. You can download the agenda, which has all of this in detail. So I'm just going to scroll a little quickly to the bottom, and you can see that the total of it is 474, and it's on page 5. So it covers the amount that we needed to get to. Most of these things, and I'm sorry for making everybody kind of seasick with this, but most of these things you've seen before because they were part of phase 1's document. One thing to highlight, it does have the investment in the insurance fund that was there before. Other things are materials and things that can be pre-invested in that I've also discussed before. And how we reached the end of this, what the difference between last time and this time is that MA7 hiring. We had 2 retirements between those 2 times. So you might recall I was having a little bit of trouble reaching the whole 474. I was kind of stuck at 430 trying to figure out what to do. Our 2 retirements hiring back at MA7 provides a differential of about $67,000, and that helped us get to the 474. So we have been able to achieve the 474 without the reduction of any staff. It's mainly done through the pre-investments in fiscal year 22, and and in the insurance investment that is identified, articulated at the top. This document then in the following sections kind of breaks down each section and how much it totals. So section 3, which is the potential expenditure, section 4, which is the investments, add up to 683, 386. The balance of what we have at the moment, remember it can change and fluctuate, subtracting the allocations, which is the purchases and the investments, is $73,700. Now, if you recall from last year, section 7 or the last section might not, sections might not line up exactly numerically, but in principle, they go towards the end, having this recommendation for remaining funds. And so last year, we did a 30-40-30 split. This year, the recommendation is a little bit different. It is a 50-50 split, that whatever is left, and right now the projected amount left would be $73,700, would be split 50-50. 50 going into the Educational Reserve Fund, a request to move it into the Educational Reserve Fund, the other 50 rolling into the pandemic account as an investment. And again, this is contingent on the pandemic account, the COVID account for the town, remaining in force. That remains to be seen. But should that account remain in force, the split of the 73.7 could be 50-50, half into one, half into the other. It could also be all into the ERF. I don't really need anything from the board tonight on section 7, because when we get to the end next month, the board can instruct me to split it in whatever percentages it wants. I do recommend 3 containers of ERF, COVID pandemic fund, or rollover, but I don't recommend necessarily I'm not telling or asking for any particular percentage in either of or any of those, but just I recommend that whatever we have left be broken up into one of these 3, or 2 of these 3, or all of these 3. But right now, I'm recommending 50-50. If we ended it all today, that half would go into the ERF, and we would request the other half to go into COVID fund, if it still exists. So that final page breaks it all down. That ultimately the budget is 4819, 474 reduction, estimated balance for where we are when I created this document at this point in time was 763, potential expenditures were 215, the potential investments 474, total 689,983. What's left is 73,700 as a differential, and splitting that as 36,850 into Educational Reserve Fund and 36,850 into the COVID Pandemic Emergency Relief Fund would shore up the budget for the year if we ended it at the time of this particular report. So it's meant to provide the board an idea of how things are progressing as we go towards the end of the year, provide the board an idea of the big chunks that that the district wants to invest in to offset next year's budget or expend to provide advantages we otherwise wouldn't have. And then how much would be left to roll over or to put into ERF, request into ERF or request into COVID. And it's meant to kind of package it up so you can conceptualize, where we're at. And again, things change. If you notice from last month to this month, there are some differences. It does, in principle, this stays the same, but there can be fluctuations here as we get excess cost funds in and things like that. They are accounted for here. You'll notice that we do say for the excess cost fund, that is something that is accounted for here. But other things may come in under, something may come in over. Police services, for instance, is an addition due to some recent circumstances. So, that's something that was not on there in the past, in the last document, and something maybe different in the last one, but it will not be fundamentally different. The overall principle of this is the same. And what we're doing now is whatever you see here is what I would be taking action on. I would not be flipping that around at this point. Whatever you see here is what we're taking action on, both for the investments and the expenditures. These are the big chunks. These are the things that, that would get us to the end. And that's the plan as it is in May for phase 2 of our reconciliation.
Thank you, Dr. Willett. Definitely a lot of stuff to review. The one question that I did have coming through all this, on section 4 for the literacy how, I thought the consultants were training our staff members so that we can have this in-house and they would train each other. Is this like the fiscal year 22, like the last year for that? Or how is that working into
I
everything?
know that keeps sort of circling around. You know, they the trainers that come and the coaches that come offer a level of training that is really a necessary level of training. At some point, maybe we would, you know, we would have that stop with the coaches, but they are they're indispensable right now, and they're training different, you know, different in other populations and special ed populations. So it's much better to have it done by these individuals, by these coaches, than have the staff do it who really haven't been doing it. You know, they are trained, but they're not really, they haven't really got the background that these coaches do. So we can create a professional community of practice, but we still don't have that expertise the way these individuals have it. And the Literacy How program helps us in so many ways avoid trouble, you know, give the students the support they need. That it really is a very, very smart investment right now, because it's avoiding a lot of issues for the kids, and that you know, that morally is the right thing to do, but it also by doing that avoids a lot of issues for the district. You know, we avoid issues with this.
I just was wondering if COVID had an impact on the coaches coming in, or how that was, you know, going through, because like I said, I was under the assumption that they were going to kind of train our staff so that our staff would have it in-house, and you know, I just kind of wanted to get a feel for where exactly we were with that. So
yeah,
perfect. Okay, thank you. Let's move to Madhu.
Thank you. I just want to say I appreciate the work that FFC, Dr. Willett, and staff did. I still have my concerns with pre-investing. You know, I mean, it just seems like what we're doing is we're kicking the can down the road, and it's going to eventually come to a head. And I'm just worried about potential backlash of, you know, when we sit down and do the budget next year, how these could end up looking like giant spikes, you know. So I'm hoping that, our budgets kind of start to even out a little bit, but, I think it's a good idea to maybe just start educating the public now about why these numbers may look different next year. That's all.
Thank you, Madhu. Let's go to Rainey.
Thank you, Ashley. So I had a question, Dr. Willett, on uniforms. They were $27,000 the last time we got this, and now they're up to $35,000, which seems like kind of a big jump. What happened there? Was there something else added in?
adding more uniforms. It's just taking the opportunity to get as many of them as possible during the opportunity to do so, which ultimately means you just won't be buying them in the future. You know, the more that you can get now, if we have an opportunity to invest in them now, they're just not going to be ones we have to buy, you know, in a few years. So it's just an opportunity to get more of that out of the way and leave less for the future.
Well, does this pretty much cover all the teams? Or, I mean, I'm not really sure, like what's the total to get new uniforms for all the teams that we have? Or, I mean, is this pretty much everybody, or not only half, or just so we have an idea?
It's a large number of them. I don't think it's everybody. I off the top of my head don't know exactly, because I just pulled the information together from what the athletic director and the business manager gave me and got a total. So right off the top of my head, I don't know if it's everybody, but it certainly is a lot. And that would mean that we shouldn't really be needing to see a lot of these expenses, you know, in the future. It might help us with reaching, you know, while we're making an investment and we have to reach to a certain number next year for, you know, fiscal year 22, and then in fiscal year 23 have to crawl back out of it, so to speak, in some ways. This will be one thing we don't have to get in our crawling back, you know.
No, I understand that. I was just wondering, because it was kind of a large increase over the last time. So that was, I was just curious.
We had the opportunity to put even more in. So it is more uniforms. I don't know if it comprises every single one of them that was ever needed, but it is definitely going to cover way more than it would have otherwise, which is a really good thing from an offset perspective for the future.
So my second question has to do with putting money in the COVID fund, some of this leftover, the 36,000, whatever it is. So given that at least it feels like right now we're sort of wrapping up a bit with the COVID. What do you envision that would be needed for in terms of COVID expenses?
Well, you know, the one thing that's been predictable about the pandemic is that it's been unpredictable. And, you know, I think right now, given the fact that that when we do talk about this, there is a conversation about, you know, what the pandemic or post-pandemic year looks like, which the DPH seems to consider the final stage of the pandemic. Next year seems to be, from a planning standpoint, like the final stage of this thing, where hopefully there's enough herd immunity and it's the vaccines are effective enough against variants that this thing becomes part of our past, and maybe there's boosters, but it's not affecting us the way it does before. Like right now, while we're moving out of it, we still have significant populations that have to be quarantined at a certain, you know, required number. And so there are things that go along with that. Fauci has said, for instance, that PPE may not be necessary or required for grades 6 through 12, but it may be necessary for K-5. There may be some things we still have to do with Zuno cleaning products on buses. There may be things that we still have to do continuing certain practices and protocols with respect to PPE and other stuff that next year would continue because those younger grades cannot be vaccinated. So the way they keep talking about it is that next year is the final sort of closing stage of this, but it's not over. It's over from the standpoint of all of us living the way we're living at the moment, but it's not over from the long game in terms of getting this thing eradicated so it's not going to happen again. So there are things that we would probably need to be investing in next year that just unpredictably would pop up in a magnitude that would make sense for us to have. And then one that pops right on my head is Zuno. You know, we normally wouldn't use Zuno on buses, spraying stuff all over the place. It's a very safe thing that you can use. It's highly effective. COVID actually bonds to it and gets destroyed. It's very high tech kind of thing. And normally we wouldn't need it, but next year we probably will still need it and still use it. So that's an example that, you know, we really don't know how much and how much we'll be required to do, but having something there in the back pocket is a good idea, in my opinion, because it's just, there's still some uncertainty with respect to what we're going to be required to do. And also have to create a plan, which I'll be putting in front of the board for 2 reads coming up at the next board meeting. I'll be talking to board leadership about this, which is the return to in-person learning for next year. And that plan will have in it things that we are still expected to do. It'll articulate 8 to 10 things we're still expected to do. There's a meeting on this tomorrow for all superintendents where they start to articulate to us what we are really still expected to do and we're expected to use you know, funds for and things like that. So, you know, what is clear is that it's still a changing environment. We'll probably still have some residual things that we have to handle for next year before we get back to 100% normalcy. And it wouldn't be a bad idea just to keep something in our back pocket that we can take out if these things, you know, are pushing in on our operating budget. You know, there's a place to go other than some of the things that we need and want that we normally budgeted for. So that's the long of it. I was going to say long and short of it.
That is the long of it.
That was
Okay.
the long of it.
Thank you.
Like you try to get it all. You know what I mean?
It's good. It's good.
So,
Now let's keep in mind, we can adjust those percentages too.
you can. That is the only part, you know, tonight, I don't need board direction on that part. I do need to move forward on the rest of it. But that part, what the distribution is and in what containers you put it, that's a phase 3 June thing. That would be the thing I would need to know next month. Exactly. This month, I just need to move forward to the items.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rini. Let's go to Plord.
Just a couple questions. On the list, the curriculum list of math, is that just for the high school or is that for the K through 12 entirely?
That is K8.
K through 8, okay.
K8 bridges.
All right, and then I guess this is more of a comment than a question. In regards to Madhu's comment on the pre-investments, I completely understand where he's coming from on that. So like my understanding, and you had already explained it with literacy, how is we were looking at more of a train the trainer, and that eventually wouldn't be an ongoing expense. So maybe as the year goes on with FFC and communications, we just continue to communicate where we can alleviate some of this, I don't want to say a hole that we're getting, but just in a sense of, where can we find efficiencies to make the operating budget more, I guess, streamlined in the sense so that there's not this huge jump in what year would it be, 2022 or 2023?
It would be 23. You'd be
Okay.
doing that.
So no, I completely understand what he's saying there. And then my other question was, could you just remind me what the Skylift is for at Birch Grove?
Oh, yeah. So you've all had a tour of Birch Grove at this point. You probably noticed how high everything is. When you walk in, it is a beautiful building. There's a lot of atrium, kind of very high spaces. Everything that's up there needs to be changed. Lights, the panels, something gets wet or whatever. And, everything up there needs to be changed. And we don't currently have something. We'd have to keep renting it to do that.
Okay.
So, when I asked Pete what he needed, Mr. Saba, as you know, amazing facilities director, these are the things he identified as, and he always keeps a mindset toward long-term savings. What he can save by having that it's going to pay for itself by not having to find alternatives to do that.
All right. Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, Claude. Let's go to Dana.
Hi, good evening, everybody. First and foremost, I raised my hand to let Lisa know that I joined the meeting around 7:34. I don't know if you needed it for minutes, but a lot of this information you went over at FFC very thoroughly, so thank you very much. So I don't necessarily have a lot of questions because you were able to answer quite a bit of it at FFC. But some of the things that I guess I'm concerned with, the theory of COVID unfortunately, COVID's going to be with us no matter what for the unforeseeable future, whether there's a light at the end of the tunnel and things are starting to open up and what have you. I definitely think it would behoove us to continue to have the COVID fund. Obviously, we don't know what winter brings or other strands brings. If anybody's been paying attention to the news, what's going on in India is absolutely very scary. Nevertheless, I think it's important that we continue to have this fund to support us in the ever evolving. If there's anything that we have learned with COVID is that it has changed and evolved day after day, week after week, even with the CDC is giving direction or Eastern Highland Health District is giving us direction. So I think it's a good idea because, what the school's requirements that we have currently may be very different and it may might cost us something to make those adjustments based on the compliance and the guidelines that we have to do. The other thing that I get concerned with it, I heard what Madhu had said about the kicking the can, because if anything's taught us anything about the budget is that if we pre-purchase, it's going to drop us down here. So then when we actually still start evolving it in the budget year over year, we have to do the pendulum swings completely the opposite way. So it almost look like we're overspending or spending too much or what have you. So we definitely need to start rotating our budget so that it is just a fluid budget year over year, and keep that fluid throughout so that we have a constant steady. If there is an increase, it would be a steady increase versus now we're going way back in the hole. Now we're going way back, and then we're gonna have to swing the pendulum the complete opposite way, which is gonna look like we're overspending in a negative way, when in fact we're just spending what we're supposed to spend for our school system. The other thing that was concerning to me was the train the trainer aspect of some of our programs. Because even so, I know that this Literacy How is a great program, and I know it was something that we did talk about, train the trainer type thing, before obviously all this happened. But then I worry about exhausting our resources for our faculty and staff. You have to take them out of the classroom or take them out of a respective their main role and have to find other staff to cover their classroom, substitutes and different things like that. So if we're not paying for Literacy How and those trainers, then we're going to be paying for more staff and more faculty and different administrators to do an additional process. So if we're not putting it in one bucket, I guess we'll be spending it in another bucket. I just think that we need to be cognizant of that. As far as the mix, again, Dr. Watt, thank you for putting this together and the hard work that your team has done. I know this isn't the topic, but I did miss the assistant principal announcement. So I just wanted to welcome her to the team. And that's all. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Dana. Tony?
Just a quick question, either Ms. Griffin or Dr. Willett, on the man lift. I know in previous budget conversations that the man lift or purchasing a lift has come up, and the discussions have centered around the cost savings in owning versus the rental costs that you have to do. Would this one that you're looking to purchase for the Birch Grove be used for those other items as well, so we would no longer have to rent?
Well, the one here is a small version. It is a indoor inside version, and I'm trying to think of an analogous thing that you might see. You know, it's
the baby version of the model of the existing.
The one you heard talked about a few months ago was it's not, you know, we all called it an artillery lift, but it wasn't artillery. It was I can't remember what it was, but it's a much larger unit. It is a car size or bigger than truck size unit. This is a smaller one that you see in you might see in Costco or whatever to rise up to get to certain areas that you otherwise would be able to.
Is there no opportunity to solve both issues?
My understanding of the conversation around that other one is that is going to be handled differently. And this is nowhere near as expensive as the other one. So my understanding is that it's going to be a different thing done in a different way from the conversation a few months ago.
And I did have a question. Wasn't the other one like you needed a particular license to do it that Dana was able to?
There's some things working that need to be worked out. In this one, you don't need anything.
So we'll still need a different solution for the other one. And
yeah, the other one is meant for a much broader set of uses. This one is internal to buildings, and we can use it in other buildings. Like at the high school, there's also high atrium ceilings, but that one is for the one that we talked about a few months ago is capable of lifting a snowblower onto the roof. This thing is nowhere near capable of lifting a snowblower. It's more for getting up there to change tiles and lighting and conduit stuff and internal work to a building.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, that's all the board members that had questions. So do you need an actual vote then for the section 3, but the potential end of the year expenditures and related ballots? Did you have a motion on that? Are we?
You at this point, I didn't put an official motion in because you don't have to necessarily do that. You just, if anyone's opposed to it, speak now or forever hold your peace, because I'm going to move forward with the expenditures and the investments. And you can, if you want to, of course, it would oppose that, but you can do it the other way too. If no one is expressing anything against it, then we're just going to move forward with the expenditures and the investments as stated here, so that we can get to phase 3 and start.
Is that a new hand, Tony? Or is it the same one?
It's the same one, I guess. Well, so what is our path forward here then, Madam Chair? Are we going to vote on our thoughts, or how do you want to do this?
That's what I would like to do, is to motion to approve the section 3 is what I would like to do to move. So I would like to move this to board action for K2.
And just as a clarification, you really would be moving forward on not just section 3, because section 4 is the investment.
Okay, so
it would be just moving forward with the expenditures and investments as articulated in the phase 2 May reconciliation document presented by the superintendent. So I can write that up if you want.
okay, I think that it's better to do a vote on that, to be honest with you, than to just say it's okay, so that it's on the books of this is what we're doing. So at this point, I would like to entertain a motion to move this to board action under K2.
Jacob Mari, I can make the motion. I just thought Dr. Wilt was typing it up.
He's going to type up the actual motion is going to be, but we still have to move it to.
Oh yeah, we have
Action, yeah.
Yeah, we have to move it to K2.
Jacob Mari, I move that we move item H3 to item K2 for board action.
Tony Holt, second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Let's do the roll call vote. So Tony,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
Claude,
Aye.
Rini. Okay, we'll skip over Rini for right now. Jacob,
Aye.
Griffin,
Aye.
Sophia,
Aye.
Rini.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, we'll move this to K2 for board action.
I'm also an aye.
Oh, do that. Do what it was. I'm sorry. Do what it was.
That's all right.
Your box was.
Just wanted to make sure.
Sorry. So sorry. Okay,
That's
so
all right.
unanimously it goes to the K2 for board action. Oh, the fun part now. Let's move on to the consideration of cancellation of summer meetings. Okay.
So just as a quick lead in, this time of year, the Board of Ed does typically review the calendar for the summer and make a decision about whether it wants to hold all of the board meetings that would typically be part of the summer. We do have a board meeting on June 23rd that we do need. July 14, 28, and then August 11th are three that have traditionally been looked at by the board for one or all or some being canceled. So at this point, just putting it to the floor, Madam Chair, for you to discuss.
Okay. When we discussed it, I thought, because I know last year we ended up adding a lot more meetings than we did canceling. But I wouldn't be opposed to canceling the July 14th meeting just to give everyone a little bit of a break. We've been trudging through and doing a lot of work, but let's hear everyone's thoughts. So Jacob?
Yeah, so for me, I won't be out of town for any one of these dates, so it doesn't really matter. I think it'd be kind of nice to have a little time off. The one thing, that I would really want to have a summer meeting about is just to kind of have a roundtable discussion about what the fall is going to look like as far as COVID restrictions go. But I'll just ask Dr. Willett, is there anything else that's really pressing that by canceling any of these meetings, we would be kind of jeopardizing our ability to act on?
It's in this weird world of COVID, it's hard to predict, but if that did end up being the case, we would just have to pull a special meeting together. I don't think so. I think everything that we're going to need to take action on, from what I can tell right now, is going to end around June 23rd. That would be the second read of the in-person document, that type of thing. It would be only if something were, out of whack that the board needed to cover, that we would need to then extend into the summer at this point. It looks like everything would wrap up around June 23rd. The only thing that would be hanging out there would be the final part of my contract discussion, but that can be handled on July 28th. So that's, the evaluation part will be done by then. It'll just be a discussion of contract. That could be happening on the 28th. I wouldn't, other people could have the 14th.
Okay.
Have a break.
Okay, thank you.
And the storms are coming through, so.
They are definitely coming through.
I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. Madhu?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna actually be out of town on the 28th. Last time I went to the Cape, the cell phone reception and Wi-Fi coverage were not the greatest. I don't know if, maybe because of COVID, it's gotten better, possibly. So just no. Okay.
My parents are retired up there, so no.
Okay, so I probably won't be able to make that then.
Okay, so you're not going to be here the 28th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Let's go to Tony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I look at it slightly different in that, much to Mr. Mari's question, is there anything that would be left hanging or couldn't be dealt with? We've spent the past however many months, dealing with these critical issues that COVID and the subsequent issues have brought up, that we really didn't get time to look at the stuff that we wanted to look at, the planning forward. Sorry, the wind's blowing in. The planning, the looking forward, the items that used to be on the agenda under future. I think these opportunities, these meetings where the agenda may be a little bit light, gives us those opportunities to have some more of the philosophical discussions.
Okay, let's go to Griffin.
I totally see, what Tony's saying. My first thought would be perhaps one of the July meetings as we're kind of wrapping up year end. Maybe give Walt and his team kind of a couple weeks to, wrap everything up and see where we stand. So my first thought would say, we wanted to cancel one of the July meetings. Now, that being said, I am going to be out of town for the August 11th, and I will not have internet access. So I'm just going to throw that out there. But I'm just kind of thinking that the 2 August meetings might actually be better, as we'll know, I would imagine, a little bit better where we stand for the fall.
So there was lightning, and I think that probably wherever she is.
Yeah.
I'm just a rough guess because I just saw a flash.
That's what I was saying
and she
before. They
stopped
said,
right about that
if I
moment.
freeze up or I just disappear, just think it's either internet or I lost my
So
power.
it was August. She can't come to the August
She
meeting.
can't come
is
to
what I
the
got.
August 11th meeting, but she thinks that, I think where she was going with this is that by August, for doing the school stuff, that we'd have a better conversations about that, I think is what she was going through. And then the July was kind of more like wrapping up, giving your team a little bit of a reprieve too, I think it was essentially.
Recording stopped.
Oh, recording stopped, so we lost somebody else.
Oh, we lost Lisa, who's probably doing the recording. I'll watch for her.
Well, they must be in the same part of town, because it looks like we lost Griffin too, because she was. So Dr. Willett, can you record this then?
All right. Well, the downside to giving her recording rights and then her disappearing is that my name doesn't have recording rights. But here, hold on. I know. This is going to maybe mess up the screen again for people.
Griffin just says she lost internet, so.
Okay, I'm recording it now.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so at least you have this now, and then we can continue on with our meeting. If anybody else leaves or has anything, have a great night and have a good Memorial Day weekend. And it could just be me next, we'll see. Let's go to Plord.
For the evaluation, I feel like everybody should be there, so maybe we just have a special meeting for that. I don't know. I just think it's important, and I think we've built quite a team, so I think it's important that all of us are there. Perhaps if we do cancel some meetings, I see Tony's point, so maybe we could do some more committee work, say in policy or communications. I know there were some things that we wanted to catch up on, and international travels and whatnot. If there's things to talk about. So I don't have any problem with any of these dates. I think Walt sent out last year a doodle poll, it was called, for seeing when we were all available. So I'd be all for that, for figuring out a date for an executive session for the eval. But whatever everybody wants in terms of these meetings. Just one question for Walt: Do you have any vacation planned?
Well, the eval timeline that I gave that I submitted today, and I'm going to post it more of a dashboard, allows you to wrap up the body of the email, eval stuff in June. And then whether it's July 28 or July 14th, one or the other could be used for contract conversation. That contract conversation is beyond the eval. The eval should be wrapped up by, say, June 23rd meeting, if you can get that done that way.
Okay.
So either of the other ones, it'll just see where the contract is. So you can decide. I'm going to work most of that summer. Probably July 4th would be when I was going to try to take some time, around the Independence Day.
Okay, so earlier than those 2 meetings. Okay.
Yeah, so I should be fine for either of those two. No matter what the board wants, it's fine.
Dr. Willett, I think Griffin's trying to call in.
Yep, her phone is attempting to reconnect.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, and then here comes Lisa again. And then back.
So Ash, how do you want to move forward with this?
We still have Sophia has her hand up. So
Okay.
we're gonna give her an opportunity and then we'll go from that point. Sophia, go ahead.
I understand everybody's points. I think Tony has a great point about the things we may have missed along the way because the board was so wrapped up with COVID and all of these very emergent issues. But I also think it would be great to take a break as well, and for Dr. Willett. So I like Christina's idea of having either special meetings or maybe assigning some of this work to the committees. So I just wanted to let everyone know I'm available all of those dates, but I'm all in favor of taking a little break too.
Okay. Did Dana, not Dana, Griffin was the one that popped out. So all my boxes are, as people talk, they're like bouncing around. Is she on the phone or?
I don't see anyone in the waiting room.
Okay. Well, at this point, so we have a member that's not going to make the July 28th meeting and a member that will not make the August 11th meeting. But that doesn't sound like anyone is leaving for the 14th meeting. So perhaps we can do your superintendent's, wrap that up on that July 14th. If we're going to be completely done by that June 23rd, I'll have that meeting. And then perhaps maybe let's cancel the July 28th meeting. If board members, any thoughts on that? Dana?
I do like what Sophia said or what Christina said. I as well, as of this very moment, don't have vacation those weeks, although I'd like to make up for some lost time. But I agree when with some of the comments with, yes, we need to look forward thinking and focus on some future business that we haven't had an opportunity to review. I definitely think it's a great opportunity to give Dr. Willett some time and his staff some time to kind of regroup and take a breath. I definitely think Sophia's idea with the committee meetings, doing some of the work in there, whether it be policy or what other meetings, I know we did miss several of those. So a great opportunity to catch up on that committee. I do like Christina's idea with having a special meeting, specifically if anything emergent really does come up. I wouldn't be opposed to canceling all three. Again, as of right now, I have no plans. I'll be in town just like Jacob, but things could always change. And I think we really need to look at the health of our staff, specifically our superintendent, and exhausting his resources through the summer. But that's what I have with my thoughts on those three meetings, Ashley. But thank you.
Anyone else at this time? No. What a lively bunch here. Here we are talking about taking a day off and everybody's like, well, you know, maybe I'm going somewhere, maybe I'm not. And, you know, Dr. Willett's like, I'm going to try to take the July 4th off.
It's hard to make travel plans nowadays.
It is very difficult, but I will tell you the Cape is, people are, influx is already starting to happen. So
I'm sure that's why we booked early.
Yeah. No, I was actually thinking about going up there just this weekend, maybe, I don't know, see my parents, I don't know, we'll see. So at this point, what I would like to try to do is maybe say for that July 28th, maybe have a vote of canceling one of those meetings. That way we'll have somewhat of a little reprieve. And like I said, for that July 14th, we can do the superintendent's evaluation, finish that completely up. That gives away that July 28th before the August. And then we can come back, and once again, you can do the subcommittees if you want during that time and get caught up on those kind of issues. So I think that's where my mind's at, because it sounds like, we're still probably going to have some areas of doing the roundtable discussion about the school openings and things of that nature. And if we do need to have something, we can always do the special meeting to anything that may pop up, because as we know from COVID, last summer, I felt like it was every week that we were having a meeting, maybe twice a week. So, to me, I'm like, I think that we should take at least a meeting off. That would be kind of nice for everybody. So at this point, like I said, let's try to do the July 28th, and let's move that to action, I guess, would be the H4 to being a K3.
And you're ready to tell, move H4 to K3.
Jacob Murray, second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Dana?
Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
Lauren?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Madhu?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
And then that's just me. Aye. Therefore,
Wait, Ashley, can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Okay, now since
I
iPhone.
can't figure out the video, but I can hear you guys, so I'm an aye.
Okay, so we're gonna move this just so you're caught up. I don't know exactly when you came on, but my suggestion was for the July 28th to take that one off. We can wrap up the evaluation. That way it's midsummer point, and then we can start up again with the with August. I didn't know if you you're gonna be kind of.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I got that part, and that sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Okay, so we will move this to K3 for the cancellation of July 28th. Okay, so let's move on to the committee and the liaison reports. Dana, I believe that probably Birch Grove has something. I feel like there's been tons of stuff going on. So if you want to lead us off.
Thank you, Ashley. You're throwing off my my rhythm. I'm used to being called after Rini and like
you're my first box
fourth committee.
It's funny because you never know how these boxes fall, but like you are my first one right now. I don't think you ever are my first one.
Yeah, because I'm going to have updates every meeting since we're doing meetings. We have meetings scheduled every Tuesday for the unforeseeable future, just simply because of the ever evolving change orders and such. The big conversation right now is the swings. Let there be swings, let there be no swings, simply because of a large cost, as well as a lot of site work that needs to be done to prep it and so on and so forth. We couldn't keep the existing Birch Grove swings simply because of the safety aspect when they pulled them out. We weren't able to relocate them. And those were not, to clear up any misconceptions, those were not a part of the playscape restructure over at Crandall. Those were not allowed to go over there. That playscape structure is still, the concrete is still setting over there at Crandall. So hopefully that'll be up and running soon. We did some final FF&E change orders last night, some tech change orders. The construction team can't stop moving. So that's kind of why we have these, just based on any questions or things that we need to either approve or deny to kind of finish those last minute details. They are ahead of schedule. So that is huge. Eugene Karcha from D'Amato continues to communicate to us with our updated schedule. Susie, Mackenzie, thanks. With our updated schedule, construction update every week. They are going to schedule another opportunity for BOE, Birch Grove committee members, as well as town council to do a walkthrough for the building. So that might open up for anybody who didn't get a chance to go, you need to go. I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's an amazing structure. but it also probably will answer the reason for the lift in there just for general maintenance. But yeah, they're excited to move in. And now the big conversation is the Miracle Field, and kind of what we would do if the Miracle Field came, or what we would do if we didn't end up going with the Miracle Field, how kind of that field looks up where the portables are, and what will happen to that area, that landscape, once the portables are moved. No matter what we decide will not hinder us in move-in day, because that'll obviously be post move out, due to the fact that it's when the portables go away and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, we're getting to the nitty gritty. The school looks amazing, and stay tuned for the walkthrough invite.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Tony?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Ms. Philbin pointed out, due to my international travel, the policy committee has missed a couple to a few meetings recently. I certainly appreciate everybody's patience in that. But now that I'm back and hitting the ground running, I've had the opportunity to try to have some meetings to get things caught up and turned back on. Again, to the committee, I had to last minute cancel today's due to a work issue that overran, but I will do everything I can to very quickly get on your schedules. I did have the opportunity to meet with Dr. Willett last week, primarily to talk policy concept, make sure that the directions we were looking at going a few months ago were still the ones we were looking at. As if you looked at the agenda that was for today, that'll be on the next meeting. We had 3010 on there. We had the roles of the board, I think that's 9010, and roles of the superintendent, which is an additional one on there to discuss. But what I wanted to use this opportunity to, and it was one of the things that Dr. Willett and I were talking about last week, was the board, there we go. The board asked the policy committee to take a look at a mask policy. And we met on that briefly a few months ago, and then it was tabled while Dr. Willett had some chance to do some research and doing some investigation. Given the recent changes in the governor's mandate and the Highland Health District direction, Dr. Willett and I wondered if it might be best to let that stay tabled. Our current, and Dr. Willett, tell me if I missed our understanding, but our current mandates and rules tell us that we have to follow the state guidelines. We have to follow what's coming out of the health district anyway. And being that our meetings right now are on school property, that plan that's being put out and voted on by Dr. Willett in these next two meetings covers that already. I wonder if this policy becomes just overregulation for what's already existing. So I've got that tabled. I wanted to see, since the board did direct the policy committee to take a look at that, I wanted to kick it back to the board and get that direction.
Okay, I know that with the whole mask situation, Dr. Willett, I don't know if you would like to respond to that.
Yeah, I think, and I've said this before on this matter, I don't believe a policy about mask, specifically about mask wearing, is advisable for the board at this time, because this is really, we don't have the authority to really dictate anything on that one. We only can follow what we are being directed. So the DPH and the CDC, DPH takes its guidance from the CDC most of the time. And the state, also has made statements on it. So it's clear we have to wear a mask in school, and our staff has to wear them. And the thing about it, policy would be, by the time we would get the policy codified, they could change it again, and then the policy would be outdated, and we have to go back. And so at this point, we really just have to pay attention to the guidance and directives of the state, the DPH, the HHD, and follow those. And we are. And an example of something that could change is, that changed pretty quick. That at one point they had to wear masks even outside. Now it's going to not wear them in recess. That would be something that if that were written in our policy, we would have to now go back and try to change that, or our policy wouldn't be up to date. So it's just on this particular matter, the guidance is the authority for this is beyond us. The most we can do is say we will comply with state, federal, and Department of Public Health guidance, and that's exactly what we would do anyway. whether that was in writing or not, we are compelled to do that. So I would recommend not doing that.
And I think we just kind of lost your last.
Yeah, you were cutting out at the end.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No. We don't need
Perfect. That's what I'm talking about, Walt. The quick answers, the quick answers.
The state and the EPA are gonna tell us what to do. We don't need one. We've got a date for.
Oh, see, now you lost you again. I wonder if it's that headset or like if there's a wire on there.
Well, the camera's on the mic is on the camera. So let me say it. Sorry. The CDC, the DPH, and the state dictate what we do for that, and we have to follow that. So having a policy, by the time we got it codified, they might change something, and then we would have to go back and change the policy. It's just things are moving too quickly. We really just have to rely on state, CDC, DPH, and follow their guidance, as we are obliged to do anyway. Did that make it through?
Perfect. Yes, that was loud and clear and got the end of the sentence. So thank you, Dr. Willett. You're just going to have to go really close to the screen now to talk, though, because I think it's the headset. Madhu?
Sorry, thanks. I was kind of, I know we have missed, a bunch of policy meetings, and I was kind of wondering if it would be worth it to either, appoint a co-chair, so we don't, we can always have a committee meeting, a policy committee meeting, or I know since you're the chair, you're a de facto member, or if you could chair those meetings, if we didn't want to go that route. But besides the mask thing, there's still the whole issue of one of the things that we were discussing was how to keep Zoom going, for the public. And how to go about creating a policy to do that. It's getting to be, I guess the tail end of the pandemic, and I'm sure that we're going to be meeting in person soon. So I think this is kind of a pressing issue that we really do need to discuss at some point.
I do know that I actually talked to Tammy the other day because we're going to set up a meeting between all chairs and Dr. Willett, Mike Rosen, and see what our capabilities are for the actual room, the council chambers, to see how the meetings and things can take place, because I don't know what those capabilities will be. So that is going to be a conversation, and I actually talked to Dr. Willett the other day about that. And we're going to go from there, and he had some ideas, so I think it's going to be a interesting conversation to see what can be done and go from that point. In terms of chairing the policy committee, I'm not going to chair the subcommittee meetings. I think that those are for the subcommittee chairs to do it. I am not opposed to having a co-chair, so if somebody would think about it, and I have no issue with that. I know everyone's plates are kind of full here, and we're just trying to get a meeting to be canceled. So and that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, I think I got your 2 points for the Zoom.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Let's Dana.
I just had a couple of things about, and I know we're doing the board report, so I don't know if you want me to save this for another conversation, but I think a lot of it was not necessarily mask policy, but just a policy of, like Madhu was saying, how are we going to handle our meetings structured when we go back in person or partial in person. Right now, we do have certain committee meetings that are in person or Zoom. So I think, the office that Dr. Willett has, where there are multiple cameras, there are multiple of our teammates that are not on camera. That is an issue, having not everybody on camera. Necessarily our public doesn't know who might not know who's speaking, might not, understand what's going on there. I also think that our members of the BOE complying with regulations should be a conversation for the policy, public session and availability of spaces. The other thing I'm appreciative that, you're the board chairs of the town council and the BOE will be getting together to kind of iron out that, because we've obviously never done anything like this. So it's a big question mark. I would hope that we would invite somebody from the minority caucus. I don't know if you're including, planning and zoning,
Yeah, planning and
ZBA and all
zoning,
that fun
yeah.
stuff. and then co-chairs as well. So obviously Steve Jones will be there. So
I
we
don't
have
think
an
the
opportunity.
co-chairs, I think it's just the chairs of all the elected bodies and the like whoever the worker is. So like Rosen, PZCs like David, Dr. Willow, what did we say the other day? I can't remember everyone's employee names.
I'm sorry, it was breaking up a little bit. Say that again. I apologize.
When we're talking about the meeting, having that conversation about the council chambers, like I don't remember who it was. Like, was it David, the employee for PZC? I don't remember like who the employees were of that respective.
Yeah, when we were talking about how to hold the meetings and where we would hold the meeting.
Yeah, but I didn't remember who we were talking about having there. Was it the I don't know, like the employee for like PZC, who that would entail, things of that nature for all the elected bodies. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, as far as I know that when we were talking about who we would be talking to try to determine that, I know it was elected officials and just the heads of the committees that we'd be considering. I know where we would do it. I don't know if the town hall or the town's sixth floor is capable of it. But I think it's the leadership of the boards and the workers. So it's a good thing that anyone else who would help make that happen.
Yeah, you're breaking up again, so you're gonna.
Yeah, I can barely hear you.
I am so sorry. Basically, the staff that can execute it and the chairs of the committees.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Well, I think what my main concern is if it's only the chairs it's the chairs and Dr. Willett and Dave Corcoran, who is the new worker for the plant PZC, as well as Mike Rosen and Dr. Willett. That leaves that leaves nobody from the minority caucus as a chair of a committee. So I would hope that we would have minority caucus representation in these meetings, opening it up to the vice chairs or some sort of opportunity, because then that would be just Republican representation for this conversation. And I think this is a conversation for the whole community. That's where I was going with that. I mean, we don't need to solve it this evening, but I definitely think it needs to be a point of discussion.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Let's go to Tony. You have your hand up again.
Yeah, yep. I just wanted to point out that, as far as the directive to policy committee, there were two items that I think you both touched on. We had both the mask policy as its own, but then also the Zoom, which I think was in 9160, which was brought into committee. We discussed it as committee, and then it was tabled.
It was in December.
Yeah, it was tabled due to those technology conversations that the chair is mentioning there. But thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Griffin.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. I just, we had an FFC meeting, so I just kind of wanted to touch on that. So we talked about our detailed Appendix F1. So we walked through a lot of that stuff. We talked through the COVID expenses that we just talked about tonight. And we also talked about food services, and we also did review the end of the year phase 2 document. And then I just wanted to add quickly that just kind of to touch on the whole Zoom thing. So while we were in FFC, poor Dr. Willett, something went out. I'm not really sure what, because it wasn't storming the way it is tonight. But something I think that we really need to take into consideration when we're talking about Zoom meetings and these hybrids is it was very difficult during the FFC meeting to continue with the meeting because we were in person. We had members of the public on Zoom, and then something went out, and poor Dr. Willett is getting texts from people, kind of like I just did tonight, saying, hey, can you let me back in? So I just think that's something we really need to be cognizant of, that if we are going to consider a hybrid approach, Dr. Willett or members of the committee or members of the board cannot be, in my opinion, responsible for running the Zoom meeting. I just think it's very disruptive to Dr. Willett and there's got to be, you know, kind of a better way, or maybe somebody who could just focus on that. So I just kind of wanted to throw that in there with my FFC update, because just ironically, it happened at the FFC meeting last week as well. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. Let's go to Plord.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Just a couple points in regards to policy. I think now that Tony's back, I think we're probably going to have more meetings and be up and running very quickly. So I'll be glad that we canceled this July 28th meeting, because I think we're going to be doing a lot of subcommittee work. So I really think Tony's worked hard on the policy committee. So I'm team keeping Tony chair. He does a lot of work there. In terms of you guys meeting with Mike and Dr. Willett and for the hybrid Zooms and in person, I do think you need to be careful about having a quorum of elected officials. I think it might actually, and this is just a suggestion, be better for Dr. Willett and Mr. Rosen and staff to meet to decide, you know, talk about the logistics and what they would think would be best, and then go from there and kind of direct policy or direct us with where we're going. And, you know, I think there's a Zoom, you know, view only option that, you know, could be an opportunity. But like I said, you know, we don't have to save the world now. Just throwing it out there. Don't get anyone in trouble with more than a quorum of elected officials. And then my communications report, can I give that?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So communications met, I think we actually had a very productive meeting. We talked about the changes in state law and the health district guidelines, board policies as COVID restrictions lift. So Dr. Willett, like you said, is going to attend a meeting on May 27th with all the superintendents. So there's a lot of information flowing through. And in June, he'll be presenting certain information to the board so that we stay in compliance with the ESSER funds, ESSR funds. And then throughout the summer, you know, obviously communications can meet and we can relay that information out to the public. We also talked about, and we've kept this on our agendas ongoing, understanding the budget process and rooms for improvement. So just, you know, continuing the conversation. No major milestones hit there yet, but you know, I think it's important to keep the lines of communication open on that. And then just briefly, Dr. Willett put together a new dashboard for the board. So if you hadn't had a chance to look at it, take a peek. It's a lot more user-friendly and it's easier to find things. So I think you'll all be happy. So with that, oh, and then I attended a town council joint meeting on Monday. A lot of discussion about the Miracle Field. And I apologize, I missed town council yesterday, but that's all I had.
Thank you. I was going to say something, I'm going to sneeze, but Dr. Willett, you said that you were going to do the dashboard over the summer. So I was very impressed that you got it rolling even sooner. I don't know how you have managed to have time. I swear you don't sleep. Let's go to Jacob. He has his hand up.
Yeah, real quick, the mental health task force met, I think last Monday. Unfortunately, none of us were really able to attend it very long because we had the special meeting. But they did interview Nancy Dunn from the town for her perspective on things. And I believe Dr. Willett is up next on the docket to discuss mental health and substance use issues. And we're all very interested to hear his perspective from the schools. So if you want to attend that, I believe that's next, not this Monday, the Monday afterwards.
You got that marked on your calendar, Dr. Willett?
I do. And to be clear, it's not my personal issues. That would take a long, long time.
Yes.
It's just a general report.
So you might have to get some more rocks at your house.
It would be chapters of that. It would be like chapter 1, the early years.
Oh gosh, thank you, Jacob. Let's move on to the chairperson's report. We just want to say have a safe and happy Memorial Day. Just take a minute to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice and why we have the day. Obviously, I come from a very military pro family, so enjoy everybody, stay safe, and like I'm looking forward to having the Monday off. Let's go to board action. So K1 will be the COVID relief fund request. So I will entertain the motion for that.
Madhu Rendu-Chintala, motion to approve the funds and related fund requests under section 3.a, paragraph 1 of the Education COVID Relief Fund agreement as articulated in the attachments BOE COVID request P1 and P2FS respectively of this agenda item totaling $283,352.20 and accordingly seek reimbursement.
Jacob Murray, second.
Okay, any discussion at this point? Raise your hand. If not, we'll do roll call vote. Jacob?
Aye.
Claude?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Madhu?
Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, the motion passes unanimously.
You forgot me again. I'm Griffin. I'm an
Oh.
I.
Joy, you're not on my box now because you're all the way down on the
I'm
bottom. for some
sorry, I can't figure out how to get a camera.
reason. I don't even, I can't move your box. So if I skipped you again, just let me know. Skipped a couple people tonight. Jeez. I think it's the storm is like, I keep on hearing that and I'm just like focusing on it. Like, oh my God, it sounds like some trees coming down. Probably is. Therefore, everything passes unanimously on this motion. So let's go to K2, which will be the, let me find the other, did we write the motion down for what the K2 is for the end of the year phase?
Is K2 that, or is it the
Yeah,
cancellation?
K2's the
Phase? If it's
K2 is the
phase,
Yep.
section 3.
section 3, but it's also, it's the whole document. He was saying the section 3 with the section.
yeah,
4.
I would go with the motion I put up here. It'll get everything.
There we go. So I will entertain that motion.
Jacob Murray, I move to authorize the superintendent to move forward with the supplemental expenditures and investments in the end of year phase 2 reconciliation document as presented by the superintendent in the May 26, 2021 Board of Education meeting.
Madhu Rendu-Chintala, second.
Okay, any discussion at this point? Okay, we will do the roll call vote. So Jacob,
Aye.
Claude,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
Tony,
I think section 3 needs to be looked at, so I'm an A.
okay, Madhu,
Aye.
Sophia,
Aye.
Rini,
Aye.
Griffin on your phone.
I.
I as well. Therefore, the majority is okay with passing this, and it's already gone for the motion.
Sorry.
No problem. Okay, so let's go to K3 with the cancellation of July 28th.
Jacob Murray, I move to cancel the Board of Education meeting on July 28th, 2021.
Christina Plort, second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Okay, let's do roll call vote. Jacob,
Aye.
Plort,
Aye.
Dana,
Aye.
Tony,
A.
was that an I or an A?
A.
Still isn't clear.
I'm thinking he said no.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he's saying no, Lisa, or whenever she gets this recording, if she got back on or not. So he's a no. Madhu,
Aye.
Sophia,
Aye.
Rini,
Aye.
Griffin, and Griffin. you're-
I. Sorry.
Okay, I'm an I as well. Therefore, with majority, we will be canceling the July 28th meeting. Okay. Now let's move to public participation with the 2-minute time limit, and it must be 2 items on the agenda. If you could list your name and your address for the record, and you will have 2 minutes. And Tony will give you the 30 seconds of a visual and also just vocally let you know. So this time I will open it up to the public. Going once. Okay, Pete Howard Bender.
Hi, Kate Howard Bender, 103 Goose Lane. Just a couple things over here. First, the policy meeting being canceled at 3:04 is ridiculous and disrespectful. You really need to come up with a better plan. The mask policy wasn't addressed because meetings didn't happen. Nothing happened with policy since February. This is the issue with mask is an issue of respect and also following guidelines, and that was just swept under the rug. Comments about Zoom. Extremely tone deaf. Teachers have been doing Zoom all year long in a hybrid mode. My question to the board would be, hey, how can we make this happen since you have higher attendance than you've ever had before? And what can we do to put into place some assistance for Dr. Willett? Or are we just expecting volunteers to come out of the woodwork per usual? I heard Christina say she wasn't going to do anything about adding a co-chair to policy. This is a problem. You're not listening to your constituents. Dana also asked specifically for minority representation to help with Zoom discussion, and she was ignored. I'd like to hear an actual response to that. I'm surprised that with the new and improved board, that the chair is not interested in working together and having some minority representation. Guys, you can do better than this. Our kids are worth it. Be well.
Okay. Thank you, Kate. Anybody else at this time? Okay, we will close the public participation. Let's go to points of information. If anybody would like to speak, you can raise your hand. And let's go to Tony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question on the Miracle Field and the special meeting that the Town Council had, I believe it was Monday. Is the board going to be looked to provide our input on that? And if so, how?
You know, I'm going to just talk about it now because there might be further questions. I did ask Dr. Willett as a follow-up because I asked him if it was a Birch Grove or a Board of Ed or a Town Council, like who has a say. Dr. Willett, I don't know if you want to respond because you definitely probably.
Yeah, you know, I would say at this point, and again, you know, we still have to do some calling around to sort of see where everybody's mind is on this, but you know, it seems to me that it's just, and again, I'm going to give some speculation here, and over the next few days, there'll be some clarifications, but it does not seem like it's going to work in the timeline of the project. I don't think people feel like it's a bad idea for the community. I think the elephant in the room about it at the moment is just to, you know, what the funding is going to be. So I think people are looking for some guarantees about where that funding would come from. So I don't see that. It seems to me that this is not going to happen in the timeline that would work with our Birch Grove building project. It may be something that happens in the future. And if it is something that happens in the future because the funding can be acquired for it, the board would most certainly need to be a part of that process, because if it's going to be on the grounds of any of the schools, that impacts our programming. And also there would need to be a discussion of, like our Fields and Grounds agreement is a regularly re-upped plan, there would need to be a discussion as to whose responsibility it would be to maintain this field. You know, there are things like, you know, if something is somebody spills a shake or spills like drinks on this field or something, you know, it's going to need to be cleaned. It's going to need to be maintained. Things are going to need to happen. So the board would need to be included in that, because at some point or another, you know, we need to determine who's going to be, whose funds are going to be maintaining it, which bucket of funds that is going to come out of. So right now, it looks like it's really not happening on the timeline of the Birch Grove project. May happen in the future. If and when it does, the board needs to be involved with the conversation if it's going to be on board grounds, and if there's going to be an expectation that the board maintain it.
Ashley and Dr. Willett, if I could just chime in, Katie mentioned, and Chris Scheidel on Monday, throwing it on the BGP committee, some of the conversations too, kind of what that looks like. Because obviously the Birch Grove committee needs to make decisions with the field, because if it is a future conversation, whether it's not this year, that we need to obviously set up provisions so that it's not spending more money in the future to make adjustments to what the Birch Grove Committee did. So it is conversation on the BGP committee agenda as well.
Yeah, that'll probably, so it'll be discussed again as in the next few weeks. And a foundation was being talked about too, something that would fund it into the future. And those are to yet be resolved, as far as I understand.
Thank you, Dr. Will, because I know you walked me through that too, because I didn't want to get anything wrong. And because it was a question like, how does this actually get split up and done? Because it is kind of confusing at the tail end of Birch Grove, but yet if it's on our grounds and if town owns, like, it just, you know, it is a question. So I didn't know if anybody else would have something else along those lines, but thank you for that. Let's go to Madhu.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to something Christina said. I wasn't calling for anyone like to replace Tony as chair. I was calling for a co-chair. I think that actually works pretty well with curriculum as it stands right now. I haven't heard any complaints from communications, but I mean, just today, for an example, like whoever was co-chair could have run that meeting. Or if Tony gets called away again, we don't have to go months at a time without having a meeting. I think it's pretty important that we have some sort of plan in place. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Madhu. I do agree with that. I do like the philosophy of having co-chairs, to be honest, because it is effective that you guys can have meetings if someone is running late or something, and they do take place. I'm not looking to run meetings myself for the subcommittees, but like I said, the storm's crazy. Yes, so I'm not opposed to it. I just don't know who necessarily would want to take on more and do anything. So that is a conversation to be had, but Dana?
I don't know if we want to leave it up to the group. I think it's a great idea, what Madhu said, simply because, one of the founding principles of this board was doing the hard work in our subcommittee meetings. And it is so important what we've been doing. I mean, I can speak intelligently about FFC as I admit it, but I mean, just through the budget process, like the tough question, the digging in that they've done, and then just hearing, reading the minutes and hearing the report outs from the other meetings, I think it's probably something that we shouldn't, like if somebody's wanting to volunteer, I think we should probably kind of iron this out this evening if we can, to do it. I know that you can just appoint, if I'm not mistaken by the charter, you can just appoint somebody. So I don't know if someone's willing to be that glutton for punishment and volunteer for that. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity to discuss it because, there is so much stuff and there is so much opportunity to be had. And, we want to make sure that we aren't missing future meetings for the BOE meetings this summer. That there's a lot of stuff that and I don't want to keep going back to say that we missed it, but we have missed meetings since policy since February. So there are a lot of opportunities to make up time and to catch up and to ensure that we do it. And I think that this board has proven to support each other through the process. I mean, I'm not on a committee that has a co-chair, but I listened to Jacob and Madhu do their reports for curriculum, and it's very fluid. So it's obviously an ingredient that works. So I don't know, I would be for opening up that conversation for someone who would like to co-chair so that we don't have to cancel some of the important hard work that we're here to do. And if we do all jump off, I hope everybody does have a safe Memorial weekend and a wonderful weekend because the storm is getting a little nutty.
Yes,
That's all I have.
I don't think that any decision needs to be made tonight. I think it's something that you can have that conversation, like, let people think about that for a little bit. Let's go to Griffin.
Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to put my 2 cents in here with this. I guess I'm a little disappointed that, this is Tony's first meeting back. And while I understand he was out of the country for a couple months, I think it would be nice if we kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt and let him work through, you know, his committee and his scheduling and getting himself up to speed. And personally, I know that I have been in touch with Tony regarding, you know, policy 3010. So even though he was, you know, quite far away, you know, we had emailed each other and, you know, we had talked about some stuff. So I don't think Tony's necessarily, you know, shirking his policy committee chair duties. So I think I'd like to see us all kind of give him a little bit of time, and, you know, he'll have, you know, the summer, because I have full confidence in him that he will be on top of all of these policies that I know that he's been, that have been on his radar and on our list to look at. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. Let's go to Rini.
I just kind of like to second what Griffin said. You know, I mean, Tony has done a lot prior. He had to go away for work, and I think he even then, you know, tried and attended meetings and so forth. So he's back now. I say give him a little bit of running room to get back going again and get some meetings put together to make up for the ones that were missed, and, you know, go from there. If things continue that there's issues, then maybe we look at it at that point.
Okay, thank you, Rini. Let's go to Sophia because she hasn't had a chance to talk. Sophia?
Thank you. I definitely think that the co-chair idea is great, perhaps even for all of our committees, for this express reason. No one is blaming Tony or faulting him, but although for however many months of policy meetings missed or not happening, I think is a problem. We are all volunteering our time, and to include, I mean, and all of our time is precious, to include Dr. Willits, and the work does need to get done. And while I believe wholeheartedly that Tony has the best of intentions and the best of his ability to bring a lot to the table, he just hasn't in the past few months, and that's fine, but we just need to come up with an alternate plan.
Okay, thank you, Sophia. Dina?
Yeah, I definitely would reiterate what Sophia said. Obviously, you know, we all have family, business obligations, whatever that might be. And Tony's just so happened to take him out of the country for 4 months, twice. So I don't want to derail our BOE meeting and make this about Tony and his professional life, because that's not what we're supposed to be doing. However, I'd be concerned with the conversation and the comment that Ms. Griffin made, that she's been having conversations with Tony in regards to 3010 via email or via phone, because we're not supposed to be making decisions or having conversations outside the public eye. We're supposed to be doing these meetings in public session or open for the public and having these conversations. We can't make decisions without that. It's just walking a fine line. It's concerning. We need to be doing the work as a committee. And to be blunt, and I know that everybody's kind of saying these different things, but Tony simply hasn't been here. And whether he's listened to the meetings or whether he hasn't been a part of the conversation. He hasn't been a part of 4 months of the conversation. So that's simply a dereliction of duties. And I definitely think that we need to focus on mitigating that issue. And if he's going to be here, if we're all going to be here, I mean, who knows, maybe my business or Sophia's business or Ashley's or Christina's, any of ours could call us away. I just think it'd be a good idea to have that fail safe and that safety net, so we don't miss 4 months of meetings. So we don't have this conversation where we could be talking about our superintendent or our faculty or our staff or our students of what we are sworn in to do. Instead, we've had a conversation about someone missing meetings for months. So I would just be concerned. I'm just concerned that my peers are doing some work outside of public session as well, whether it's committee public session or it's BOE public session. So I just want to throw that out there. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Once again, like I was saying, okay, Floyd.
Just from the FOIA presentation, I don't know if it was with this board or the last board, we had the FOIA commissioner come in. You are allowed to talk to people one-on-one, you know, and decisions aren't being made, you know, so if he talks to, you know, and Tony, I'm sorry you're on trial tonight, but if you talk to Griffin, you know, there's not a problem with that. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you very much, board. Let's just, like I said, that's something to be discussed and to have those conversations, but there's no decision that needs to be made tonight. Let's move on to our future business or the new business. Dr. Willett, did you want to add anything for that?
You know, there's a number of things coming up. We actually, on the June 23rd, we are going to have a presentation on mathematics for the district from our curriculum supervisor. So that is the thing that is closest on the radar for future. You know, and then of course, as we get into the summer and into next year, we'll be doing the ones that, you know, hopefully instructional rounds again, things like that, as we get again out of the gravitational pull of COVID here. We'll get to go back into some of those things we were looking at before.
Oh, thank you. Let's, at this point, I will entertain a motion for adjournment at 9:03.
Jacob, motion to adjourn, or Jacob, you could do it too. That's fine.
No, thanks. Jacob.
Hey, as long as the motion gets made.
Yeah. Jay Gamari, I move that we adjourn the May 26th regular Board of Ed meeting at 9:03 p.m.
Christina Plord, second.
I totally spaced out.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any discussion on that? Let's go to roll call vote. So Jacob?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Flord?
Aye.
Sophia?
Aye.
Adu?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Rini?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, our meeting will be adjourned on 9:04. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Bye, guys.
good Memorial Day weekend.
Have a good Memorial Day weekend, everyone.